It was a funeral, but as with so many things here in Lebanon, it was much more than that. Proof of national divisions, a reminder of how bloody the past has been and the present still is. Standing alongside Antoine Ghanem's widow, the father and mother of Pierre Jamal, the industry minister gunned down last November. In the congregation, Saad Hariri, whose father Rafiq's assassination 2.5 years ago led to the current national crisis. And the lesser-known figure of Marwan Hamadi, telecoms minister, who on an earlier visit to Beirut had shown me the metal plates in his head from when he survived an assassination attempt. He said today, "We will win." And he was referring to a session that will begin in the parliamentary building round about 200 metres over there on Tuesday to choose a successor to the current president, Emil Lahoud. The government, which is headquartered here, says the session will go ahead despite the events of this week. And it'll last for 60 days. It will be a marathon session. The government has a majority, but it's a slim majority. And this week, it went down by 1. Shireen Tadros now reports on the day's events.
Another slain politician, another day of mourning in Lebanon. Antoine Ghanem's body, along with those of his bodyguards, paraded through the streets of East Beirut. Hundreds gathered here to watch as the coffins made their journey from the hospital to the Sacred Heart Church. The crowds came to pay their final respects to a member of their community, but they also came to make a political point.
There is a real sense of sadness here, but also one of strong defiance. People here say they're sick of blood being spilled over the political crisis. It's time to find a way out.
To the world, Ghanem's assassination is yet another example of the chaos of Lebanese politics. But to many of the people that gathered here, Antoine Ghanem was simply a member of their community and respected politician. His assassination came as a shock to them, and now they're worried about the future of their country.
I am very angry. We don't know what to do. How do we stop these assassinations?
My message is that we're not going to surrender. This is the price we're paying for independence.
Inside the church, the family greeted a long line of guests. Former President Amin Gemayel, who lost his son less than a year ago in an assassination, standing side by side with Ghanem's family. He insists the upcoming presidential elections will not be derailed.
Your martyrdom is a new incentive to pursue the presidential election, irrespective of what that's going to cost us. This is not a challenge, but it's because I'm keen on unity, because there will be no reconciliation if the presidential election doesn't take place.
After the service, members of different political parties stood together in a show of unity. But it's a sad day in Lebanon, as yet another family pays the price for their political beliefs. Shireen Tadros, Al-Jazeera, Beirut.
And part of those political beliefs, the feeling that the new president should not be as pro-Syrian as the current incumbent. Well, as Shireen was pointing out there, many families who've known murder in the ranks over the course of the years in recent times as well were at the funeral, and also many people who will be taking part in the vote that's coming up. Antoine Ghanem, a member of the Christian Phalange Party, and my colleague James Bays is outside their headquarters on the other side of Beirut to me. James, it was interesting to see so many of them there, but there's a feeling now that with the vote coming up on Tuesday, many people will be keeping their heads down.
That's right. I mean, here at the Phalange Party headquarters, the flag's at half-mast, not a lot of business being done here now, and the focus on, I think, Lebanon's MPs in the coming hours and the coming days. Now, many of those MPs, I'm told, won't be doing much. You saw them today, some of the most prominent figures in this country at that funeral, but that was because there was extremely high security there. Now, in the next few days before Tuesday's parliamentary session, we're being told that they will be kept behind closed doors under tight security. In fact, some of those MPs are in the Phoenicia Hotel, which is about 1 kilometre away from here, and they're being kept in a secure part of that hotel, guarded by the Lebanese police and the Lebanese security forces. Many of those MPs fear they too could become a target.
James, there had been calls for a mass turnout on the streets by supporters of the March the 14th movement, the ones behind the government, the anti-Syrian group. What sign was there that people heeded that call?
Well, I don't think there were quite the numbers that some in the media had predicted, but there were still hundreds of people there on the route as the funeral cortege passed, as the coffin was taken towards the church. And remember, this wasn't a giant political protest as we've seen in the past here in Beirut. This was a funeral service, people paying tribute to their murdered MP.
James, criticism of the investigation of the site where Anton Ghanem lost his life on Wednesday. What do we know about the process as it stands right now?
Well, I understand investigation, of course, is still underway. The police still doing their job there. And I understand the focus now is on closed-circuit television pictures in the area around the murder scene. TV cameras on shops and businesses in the area. Now, some media reports are saying that those CCTV pictures have brought a good result. They found the likeness of a man they believe may be the man who planted the bomb, who placed the bomb there and organised the bombing. There was some talk in the local media that they might even issue a sketch of this man. We're told that's not going to happen for now.
James, thanks very much indeed. That's James Bays outside the Christian Phalange Party's headquarters in downtown Beirut. James, right to point out that the session begins on Tuesday. I'd suggested there'd be a vote then. There will be votes, but there could be as many as 3 over the course of 60 days in efforts to choose a new president to replace Emil Lahoud. It will be a very difficult time the coming 2 months here in Lebanon. Everybody hoping that some kind of agreement can be reached and that there won't be any more bloody events as we've seen this week. But I have to say, the warning signals are already there. Back to you.
Angry demonstrations have taken place across Pakistan, denouncing President Musharraf's bid to hold on to power. He's seeking re-election on October the 6th, but an alliance of opposition parties has threatened to boycott the vote and resign from the National Assembly. And legal challenges to his re-election are also being heard by the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, the president has made some significant changes to the top ranks of the army in what many will see as a backdoor attempt to maintain influence if he does step down from his military role. From Islamabad, Kamal Haider reports.
The slogans are the same: "Go Musharraf, go," and "No Musharraf, no." The last time they came here in strength was when they were fighting for the restoration of the Chief Justice. But this time, they are demanding the ouster of President General Pervez Musharraf. The opposition kicked off a wave of protest across the country. Opposition members of parliament now say they will resign on the 29th of this month to protest Musharraf's re-election bid. The same day, the Supreme Court is set to scrutinize the candidates' papers, and lawyers are threatening to besiege the building.
The nation feels very angry because there is no rule of law. So today the people are come here to show their resentment and also show the support to the judiciary.
Government ministers are saying if the verdict of the court goes against Musharraf, the system will collapse and there'll be emergency and martial law. Through this demonstration today, we want to say the Supreme Court should uphold the law.
The president says he will take off his uniform if he is re-elected, and he has already announced key appointments and promotions within the army, in what many see as preparing the grounds for a transition from General Musharraf to Mr. Musharraf. Kamal Haider, Al-Jazeera, Islamabad.
Still to come here on the Al-Jazeera News Hour, descending into chaos. A stark warning from a human rights group on Darfur. And the United Nations is just hours away from a critical hearing on the African crisis. Now, the next round of six-nation talks on North Korea's nuclear program will take place on September the 27th. China has confirmed the four-day meeting in Beijing, when it will play host to the United States, Russia, Japan and the Koreas. Recent progress in the talks is helping to foster improved relations between North and South Korea. The two nations are technically still at war after the North attacked the South in 1950. But there's a new spirit of cooperation going into next month's summit between the two countries.